boys and girls. It's Little Red Riding Hood. And how are you doing today? Oh, that's great to hear. I'm so glad you're doing so well. Well, I got back from Grandma's, and she said don't forget to sign up for summer reading at www.mccpl.lib.al.us. And don't forget about curbside service, 334-365-4844. I'm reading Pay Attention, Carter Brown by Gary D. Schmidt. And we're on chapter 17. And we left yesterday with chapter 16 with the butler dropping everybody off at school, and they were discussing the different things that they were going to do. And Carter has decided he's going to take the stance of the British instead of the English that were rebelling against the American Revolution. So let's see what happens in chapter 17, the leg before the wicket. I'm excited. I want to find out what's going to happen. And also Carter's kind of given up on his father emailing him because he doesn't want to be a part of their life, so he's kind of given up. Chapter 17, the leg before the wicket. If a batsman prevents a bowled ball from striking the wicket by placing his leg or body in its path to block it, the umpire may dismiss the batsman for being a leg before wicket. Here's what happened after I finished my oral report on the Declaration of Independence and the American Rebellion. Mr. Solowski gave a long, low whistle. "Well," he said, "it's usually valuable to hear alternative viewpoints." Patty Trowbridge raised her hand and asked what the Patriots used to do to Tory traitors. Ryan Moore turned to me. "They tarred and feathered them," he said. Actually, he didn't say. "They tarred and feathered them." He snarled it. Billy Colt looked at me and shook his head. "Nice knowing you," he whispered. It was a long class. When Patty Trowbridge began her report on Betsy Ross, she said that her ancestors had fought and died for our freedom at Bunker Hill. Unlike some. When Jennifer Washburn began her report on the battle at the Old North Bridge, she said she had a relative who'd helped to smuggle Abraham Lincoln into Washington for his inauguration, unlike some. And when Ryan Moore began his report on the Boston Massacre, he said he was glad true Americans like Crispus Attucks had stood up, unlike some. "It's not a big deal," I said to Billy Colt. At noon in the cafeteria, he was opening my lunch to see what the butler had packed. I mean, it all happened a bazillion years ago. "Do you want these raisin scones?" he said. "And they're all dead. Or maybe they're blueberry." Ryan Moore stopped at our table. I looked at him. "Tory traitor," he said. He took the 2 scones and walked away. Billy Colt took out the hard-boiled eggs. "So can I have these?" he said. The butler picked us up in the eggplant. Annie and Charlie and Emily talked fast, like they had eaten too much sugar. Annie said she scored 3 goals during football tryouts, and it would have been 4 if she hadn't been fouled at the last minute. And she got a 99% on her spelling, and it would have been a 100% except she forgot a period on one of her sentences. And Coach Karofsky said during football tryouts that she had a very natural throw-in. Charlie got to read the Pledge of Allegiance over the PA during the morning announcements, and Principal Swigtick said she had done so well that she could lead the school in the Pledge of Allegiance the whole week. And everyone loved her report on E. Nesbitt, except the boys who cared what they thought. And Emily said the Marysville fire station was wonderful, and they had blown the sirens and everything. And she'd asked if she could slide down the pole, but they said they only let firefighters do that, and maybe someday she'd be a firefighter and she could slide down the pole all she wanted. And then later, back at school, everyone had gotten a new set of crayons, and it wasn't the usual 16-pack. It was the 64-pack. And it had gold and silver and bronze and everything. And how was your day? And how was your day, young Master Carter? Said the butler. Great, I said. Your infliction suggests otherwise, he said. Well, since I got called Tory traitor, maybe it wasn't so great. The butler looked at me in the rearview mirror. And of course you pointed out to your misinformed peers that it would be impossible for an American to be a member of the British political party. Yup, that's exactly what I told them. A whole minute went by. And Aquamarine, said Emily. You understand, young Master Carter, that disagreement need not be unpleasant, said the butler. It is in the 6th grade. The patterns you set in, Mr. Bowles Fitzpatrick, I really don't need to hear this right now. We drove the rest of the way home without talking, except for Charlie, who said, Why is everyone mad? It was misting out, and the wipers went back and forth. Angry? Said the butler. Mad refers to the element rather than the emotion. Oh, said Charlie. And cherry red? Said Emily. I didn't say anything. I was mad. On that morning in the Blue Mountains of Australia, when I woke up before my father, I really wanted to get the fire started so I could cook breakfast. It wasn't raining exactly, but everything was sopping wet. Not just on the ground, but up through the whole forest. The trees were black with the damp and the ground soft enough that if you pressed your sneaker into it, water came up, dripping from every branch, beads of water dripping off our tent. The sound of dripping almost as loud as the white stream that was running high, or maybe it was always that high, down a bank by where we camped. If I had wanted to wake my father up, I would have had to shout over all the dripping and streaming and squishing and gurgling. The wood we had stacked that night before was sopping, like it needed to be wrung out. I poked around in the ashes from last night's campfire, but all that was left were 2 pathetic embers winking in and out in all the dampness. They didn't have much longer to live, and laying in the sopping wood on them wasn't going to save them. So I left the campsite and went into the high grass to snap some small dead branches off the trees, since maybe they wouldn't be as wet as everything else. And they weren't. I got a couple of handfuls, and then a few more. And then I took off my t-shirt and loaded them all into it, since my shirt was already sopping wet from the water coming off the branches, and it wasn't doing me much good anyway. On the way back, every big leaf, and there were plenty of them, angled itself to dump cold water down my back, and into my jeans, and down into my sneakers. I brought the branches that were at the least drier back to camp. One of the embers hadn't made it, but the other was still fighting. I picked out the thinnest and driest branches and laid them crosswise over the fighting ember. And I began to blow as gently as I could. The ember began to flare a bright yellow, and a few quick sparks shot into the branches. I thought there might even have been a little smoke coming up. I blew gently again. The ember sputtered. I blew some more. A flame steadied into a pale yellow. More blowing. A snap, then another, and 2 of twigs showed flame. Then more quick snaps, some sparks, and 2 more twigs, burning. That's when I noticed my father was standing there, completely dry, as if drip wouldn't dare come near him. We're not going to be able to do much with that, he said. He knelt down beside me and swiped all the twigs away. Then he started to build the fire all over again. We didn't talk. I mostly listened to the screeching birds overhead and the water everywhere and the wind in the high eucalyptus branches. The night after my report on the Declaration of Independence, my mother was over at St. Michael's again. Father Jarrett has asked her to attend for certain budget matters for the next calendar year, said the butler. That doesn't start for almost 3 months, I said. Then there is no time to lose. Is there anything I might do to help with homework? I only have social studies, I said. Then perhaps you helped me enough in social studies. Young Master Carter, I suggested new ideas for you to consider, and clearly they were new ideas for much of your class to consider as well. It's not like they really consider them, I said. And so you face a curious dilemma, one you will face often if you choose to live a life of integrity and challenge. Is it better to consider all ideas to determine which one seems to you most reasonable and worthy, and then to speak your mind? Or is it better to follow the old patterns and to acquiesce quietly into a general conformity? What does acquiesce quietly into a general conformity even mean? I believe you know, said the butler. I looked at him. I think that's the one I want. No, it's not, said the butler. That is the one that someone stuck in the middle school would choose. I am stuck in middle school. You are attending middle school, young Master Carter. You need not to be stuck there. That feels like a googly, I said. Not at all. These are straight bowls. All you have to do is to swing your bat. My father isn't coming home. I don't know why I said that to the butler. It just came out. I don't know why it just came out, but it did. I really don't know why I said that. The butler looked at me. Then he looked away and then looked back at me. Young Master Carter, he said. Almost whispered. He tried again. Young Master Carter, He's not coming home. He wants to live in Germany. A long time went by. Maybe it's because of us. Another long time. Not exactly a straight bowl, I said. No, said the butler. Not a straight bowl at all. So how do I sort that out? By making good decisions and remembering who you are. Like keeping the bells up? Exactly like. None of this is your doing, young Master Carter. Another long time. There were a lot of long times. How can I be sure? I said. Because, Carter, said the butler, I am telling you it is so, and I have something for you. He went downstairs, came back, and handed me a book, The Complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I saw the movies, I said. Which means that you have yet to learn anything at all about Sir Arthur's conception of great detective. I suggest beginning with The Adventures of the Speckled Band. Please note its instance and experience and wisdom and adherence to decorum will have their way. I don't know what that means either. I think you do, said the butler. As a matter of fact, I wonder if you know it better than you imagine. I looked at the butler and I began to hope that maybe Krebs and the butler were right. Maybe some things could get sorted, but I still didn't know how. And that is the end of chapter 17. Tomorrow, which is Saturday, we will be reading chapter 18, Running Between the Wickets. We're learning a lot about cricket, and we're learning a lot about about Carter's trip that he had with his father. And we end this last chapter with Carter's upset. He's really not upset that, he got called out in class as a traitor. He's more upset that his father's not coming back, and he's finally let the butler in on it. And now the butler knows, and he's trying to help him. I think the butler knew all along. What do you think? Did the butler know all along? Well, tell you what. We'll read chapter 18 tomorrow. And I hope you have a wonderful day and weekend. And I'll see you live on Monday. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget about curbside service, 334-625-4844. Tell them what book you want, what time you'll be there, and they'll check it out for you and put it in the plastic bag and put it on the bench that says, "Don't let the pigeon drive the bus." Also, don't forget it's still not too late to sign up for summer reading. We're almost halfway through, but you can still sign up. Go to www.mccpl.lib.al.us. And thank you for viewing. See you tomorrow.